Hey, what's up everyone? This is Silver Slayer. Thank you for tuning into this video. Should you buy silver for the next decade? This is an article from Kitco, actually from Robert Kiyosaki, and he's talking about investing into silver for the next decade and how much potential is going to be coming along with it. I thought this was important to share with you guys because it does highlight some very key and important points and factors that we will be discussing, and I think it's great to spark conversation with. So make sure you guys smash that like button, make sure you subscribe if you're new, and also the link to this article will be in the description. We do see precious metals up right now. Gold around $1,500 or almost $1,600, and we see silver at $18.05. So metals are green across the board for several things. If you missed that, check out my last video. But anyways, let's jump into this. So the U.S. has officially closed the book on the momentous decade of the S&P and continues its longest bull run in history. The market has rallied consistently for the last 10 years. The index is up 184 cents or 184% since 2010. So the gold market is also attracting new attention on the cusp of the epoch. And although the prices are still down for its record highs hit 8 years ago, the precious metals ended the decade with a gain of 34%. So even though there was some things, combating precious metals, like stock market setting record-breaking highs, the dollar index, whatever the case is, it still was up 34%. So the question investors are now asking is, what is in store for the markets as the world embarks on a new decade? And what are the risks and opportunities to watch for in the next 10 years? So I think this is a very good question to ask. I mean, if you go back 10 years ago, silver was $50 in 2011. A lot of people don't remember that. And that's something you need to remember. Actually, silver's been $50 twice in the last 30 years, in the 80s and in 2011. And actually, a lot of the same things are repeating itself or happening in the times nowadays than when silver was $50. I mean, stock market volatility, dollar index, recession looming, same things. So anyways, for Kitco News Showdown 2020 Outlook, we have asked a panel of experts their thoughts on the next decade and how they would invest $100,000 for the next decade. So it's an interesting, very specific question, and I like that because then you can get specific answers. So this is Robert Kiyosaki's input, or his answer to that question. I would invest $100,000 in silver U.S. Eagles today and not tomorrow. In my opinion, silver is the most undervalued, lowest risk, best investment of all asset classes. And why buy stocks and bonds when both are in bubbles? So we've talked about, stocks in a bubble, cryptocurrency in a bubble. Even we've talked about gold and silver being in a bubble. Honestly, we see a lot of market manipulation, especially with JP Morgan, Merrill Lynch, the Dutch bank, all spoofing, placing false buy orders, trying to control and manipulate the markets. These markets are more speculative than they've ever been before, so it's not out of the realm of impossibility or even a far stretch to say that these markets are somewhat manipulated in a bubble as well. But to the extent that we're talking about, gold and silver definitely have much more potential, specifically silver, because it's so undervalued compared to gold. So he goes on to say, I've been accumulating silver coins since 1964. I have purchased gold coins also and store them legally overseas outside the banking system. In 1972, while flying for the U.S. Marine Corps in Vietnam, I purchased my first gold coin, S.A. Krugerrand, in Hong Kong for under $50 U.S. dollars. In 1972, it was illegal for Americans to own gold. I still have that Krugerrand, which is also stored overseas. Today, that same Krugerrand is worth about $1,500. I've been saving gold and silver coins, not U.S. dollars, ever since. And that's how he's kind of defeating hyperinflation or transferring his wealth out of fiat currency because it's devaluing itself so much and storing it in something that holds its value over time with intrinsic worth. So, what are the biggest trends you are watching heading into the new decade? I'm watching the collapse of global pensions. Once global pension begins collapsing, I'll wait to see how governments and central banks respond to this massive multi-trillion-dollar global crisis. If governments and central banks begin printing more fiat money to bail out pensioners, I will back the truck on gold and silver. So that means if they're trying to basically get out of debt by repaying it with more debt or bail out pensioners, he's going to take a step back on gold and silver because it could honestly put prices in a different standpoint. But this is all observation, and this is why it's so important to keep a keen and watchful and mindful eye on these markets. It's not always the best time to buy, and it's not always the best time to sell. Sometimes you have to hold, sometimes you have to trade, either gold for silver, silver for gold, or sometimes you need to pump the brakes. And that's definitely coming with experience over time in these markets. It's not always time to buy. Impulse buying and panic selling are the worst things you can do in any type of investment. I always mention that. So anyways, it goes on to say, what are the biggest threats you see in the next 10 years? Global pensions, both DB, defined benefits, and DC, defined contributions, pensions, and Wall Street has been robbing pensions for years. In January 2020, my latest book, Who Stole My Pension, co-authored with the #1 pension fund fraud whistleblower, Ted Sadel, will be released. It's not a book with happy ending, although it does offer workers with pensions and retirees options to help stop the looting. So how do you think the bull run in equities will last? 2 years at most, possibly April 2022. When people ask me what price should I buy gold and silver at, I say if you have no gold or silver, start accumulating today. Do not worry about the price. I believe that when panic hits, gold and silver disappear from markets as price climbs. And that's so true because, and he mentions markets as the supply. See, the demand's going to be rising. And that's something that's given. It's a given. I mean, industrial demand is always booming. We're going into the digital age, technological era we're advancing in. We need more and more silver. And silver is the most highly conductive metal for thermal conductivity and electricity. So it's not like silver's ever not going to be needed. It's always going to be needed. No matter what asset you're in, no matter what, no matter what category you're in, industrial, medical, anything. It's used for medical wall paint. It purifies water. It's used for dental alloys, space equipment, solar. There's colloidal silver. There's silver nanoparticles. Scientists discovered 40% how to make silver 40% stronger without losing any of its electrical conductivity. There's EVs, electric vehicles, which silver is going to be highly used for. So it's not like silver's ever not going to be needed, but the supply has been getting cut back by the hundreds of millions of ounces over the last 7 years. Silver producers have been abandoning silver mines. So this is a very important thing that he said right there. So, anyways, so when I'm asked, do you recommend mining stocks, which a lot of people ask me as well. So I'm curious what he says in this. So I've taken 2 junior miner public. The Toronto Stock Exchange, the gold mine was in China, and the silver mine in Argentina. I then say if you are just starting out, first with real gold and silver coins. Once you have a base of gold and silver coins, then you want to start speculating in mining company stocks. And that's exactly what I hoped you would say, because this is how I view it as well. If you're trying to get into investing in the precious metals, build a foundation, get as much silver, physical silver, and pile it up for as cheap as possible, building up a foundation, lowering your dollar per cost average, accumulating, like he said. If you're going to invest $100,000 in American Eagles, it's government-backed bullion. It's not a generic silver round. It's a coin. It's recognizable worldwide. It's very close to overspot, so it's not like you're paying premiums. And it's a great way to do it. Just buy tubes of Eagles. Buy a monster box of Eagles. Whatever the case is. That's the best way, in my opinion, especially as a beginner. You don't have to worry about high premium silver, the numismatic value, all that. You don't have to worry about storage. It's very simple to do, and that's the best way. And then after you build a foundation, then you can start branching off, diversifying into other things like high premium silver, stocks, whatever it is. And then after that time has passed, you gain experience, you gain knowledge, and you can make better decisions in those alleyways anyways. So anyways, so any final comments about the next decade hold for investors? He says, billions of people are trapped in the mental, emotional prison of go to school, get a job, save money, invest in a 401k. Jim and I released our first co-authored book. And this book is talking about, I'm going to try to summarize it, ability to see financial catastrophes when others are complacent, and how so many not only foresaw the First World War, but the Great Depression, but also the Second World War, and as others did. And in Greek mythology, the raven symbolizes wisdom and insight. So he's basically just, trying to rep his book right now, but it's interesting. It's a very interesting thing. He makes some very good points, and I agree with almost all of them. So What he leaves out a lot of context, though. He'll say something and there's a lot more context behind his words, and I hope you guys were able to kind of follow along as I gave the context behind what he meant and why it's so important to what he said, because he said a lot in this article. It's just, you kind of, if you don't already know or aren't aware, then it could easily be looked past. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to smash that like button. Should you buy gold or silver right now? I definitely think right now, silver at $18. Think about $50 silver not even 10 years ago. So over the next decade, who knows where silver can go? We have the 2020 presidential election, industrial demand booming, paying premiums, and the silver supply diminishing, falling beneath our feet. So very interesting times. I definitely think $18 silver is still extremely cheap, especially when the gold to silver ratio is still over 85 to 1, when it should be around 16 to 1. So who knows, but I definitely think that this is where I stand. I hope you guys found some insight, some knowledge, some type of benefit from this video. If you did, make sure to smash the like button. Link to this article will be in the description if you want to check it out yourself. This was Silver Slayer. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.